You guys they call you Greeks, but from present day Turkey, you're not Jewish. You're not from Israel. You have not been circumcised as a sign of a covenant. You don't look like them. You don't talk like them. You haven't done all of the things that they did to prove that they have the right to be called followers of God. Remember what it was like, you Gentiles, when they called you uncircumcised. Uncircumcision was a sign and a rite that showed that I am God's people. Now, it's okay if you were God's people, but what does it look like if you were not uncircumcised? And it says you were called uncircumcision by the people who were circumcised. So now they're looking down on you. See, and at that moment, you were without Christ and you were aliens from the covenant. You were aliens from the promises and the privileges that come from being followers of God. You were strangers to the promises. All of these promises that we talk about, we read about, we pray about, we call out and say, God, I want that for my life. It says that back then they considered you strangers and you had no access to the promise. Unfortunately, they missed it and they began to create distinctions between them and between others that God did not create. And yet God cares for all of humanity. And he chose the Jewish people to be the source of unity and togetherness throughout the world. But unfortunately, listen, because we're talking about Jewish people, but I think we can put this in every segment of every aspect of all of our lives and how we segment our own situations and how we view ourselves and how we label ourselves and how we begin to esteem ourselves. Because if you prop yourself up, that means you got to use somebody to push down to get up there. They begin to call these people circumcision and uncircumcision. These were markers that showed whether they had the right to be called God's people or if they didn't. This gives us a picture of what it means to have or be in an alienated society. Jews misinterpreted something. They misinterpreted being God's chosen people as being God's only people.